welcome, and thank you again for joining us for Ask an Expert. We are SAGE, San Antonio for Growth on the East Side, and we're so happy to have you here today. This program was created so that we could have a community event safely, and this is a way for us to ask the experts questions and to have them available for you to ask any question you like. They have a great presentation ready for you today, and so please allow me to introduce to you Jennifer Cook, Jennifer Ballesteros, and Lorna Stafford. They are with San Antonio Area Foundation, and we are very excited to have them with us today. So please join me in welcoming our San Antonio Area Foundation group. And Lorna, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay? Good? Okay. Thanks again, Tuesday, for having us today. Thanks again, SAGE, for having us on this presentation. You know, the Area Foundation is over a half century old, and it's a gym in San Antonio that we're pleased to be able to come and share some information with you today. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. First of all, we plan to walk through a little overview of our organization, and then we're going to break our organization down into three buckets, really: how we support the community, how we serve the community, and how we strengthen the community. So let's take a look at the overview. Many of you might be wondering, what is a community foundation? In a nutshell, a community foundation is a 501c3 that provides grant funding through a competitive process to community nonprofits. So what does that mean, and how do we do it? Jennifer, next slide. We do that through the helping arms and generosity of our donors. So we have donors in the community who are looking to help nonprofits serve the greater part of our community. And they come to the San Antonio Area Foundation to create funds and foundations, which you'll hear about more in a minute, so that they can do that type of work. And that is our purpose. Our purpose is to offer a wide array of fund types, which you will learn about later, so that we can provide meaningful gifts to improve the quality of life in our community. Thank you, Jennifer. Next slide. Our core values at the Area Foundation are excellence, passion, integrity, and community. And let me explain to you how we came about those core values. Jennifer, next slide. It's through our founders, Richard E. Goldsmith, who is the gentleman pictured to the far right. Richard E. Goldsmith in 1963 created the San Antonio Area Foundation in honor of his father, Nate Goldsmith, with the help of his uncle, Manny Goldsmith. Nate Goldsmith was an extraordinary philanthropist in San Antonio. He started his business from a small fruit stand business, and grew it into a large distribution mega in San Antonio back in the day. And during that time, he created charitable giving for different organizations in the San Antonio community. So Manny and Richard thought it would be a great honor to be able to start something in his honor that would be a legacy for San Antonio. Back in 1963, community foundations were just beginning to hit the scene. And Richard, who is a lawyer, found out about these new community foundations, researched it, and thought this would be the best way to honor Nate's memory. So the San Antonio Area Foundation was incorporated in 1964, and we have been giving to the community ever since. And now I will turn it over to my friend and colleague, Jennifer, who will tell you about the donor side and how we get that funding out to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Lorna. I appreciate it. That was quicker than I had anticipated, but I'm ready for this. So really quickly, just want to provide you with how the Area Foundation supports the community, right? And how we go about doing this. So really quickly, before we start, I want to kind of give you a brief overview on the two type of funding buckets that we have available. There's lots of different vehicles that we use to fund, but basically there's going to be, in the interest of time and in a simple explanation, individual funding and giving to the Area Foundation, and then co-investing funding and giving to the Area Foundation. So individual is where an individual will give to the Area Foundation as a way to enhance their own personal goals and philanthropic interests by way of getting grants out into the community. Co-investing is in the word itself, where a donor would come to the foundation to be able to co-invest in the initiatives of the Area Foundation, right, as a partnership with them. So we'll kind of talk about that and hear more about that as we continue on. So really quickly, I am a part of the DDS team of the Area Foundation. And essentially what I do is I help bring donors in to really understand what their philanthropic goals are and how they can better benefit the community, right? Or how they can benefit the community, right? So there are some benefits to the donors and why people would want to start a fund with the San Antonio Area Foundation. So the first would be, obviously, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This means that our gifts, anybody who makes gifts to the Area Foundation will get an immediate tax deduction, right? So if you make an individual gift or if you decide to open up a fund, you will get tax deductions on any contributions you make to the fund. Another really beautiful thing is that we are provided a little bit more flexibility than what a private foundation would be given, just because of the charitable class that we serve and the interests that we serve. So we serve a broader area and different types of situations and scenarios where a private foundation maybe has their own special niche of funding they give to, right? The Area Foundation actually does have lots of different fund types for any specific donor. So this is what we mean when we want to make sure that we're helping you align your philanthropic goals and making sure that we're meeting your mission, because there's one thing that we're good at, and that's us creating or finding a fund that works best for you and your interests, okay? And we'll kind of walk through that in just a bit. The Area Foundation is also able to take on a multitude of different types of gifts. So obviously cash is going to be one. Next is going to be stocks, treasuries, things like that, and then in-kind gifts. So the Area Foundation is able to kind of monetize that or figure out how to transition that into dollars, right, that we are able to use back into the community. Another thing is that we also offer lots of different interests for business too. So not only do we help individual and families, we also help businesses in figuring out what their philanthropic goals are too. Maybe they already have an existing platform internal, or maybe they're just wanting to supplement external or outsourcing what that looks like. So we're here to kind of help them walk through that as well. Lorna, next slide, or Jennifer, next slide, please. Thanks. Some additional benefits. So the Area Foundation can provide long-lived goals and funding streams for our donors. And this is by way of endowment funds. So endowment funds are created by our donors so that their gifts will last in perpetuity, right? This means that when you create an endowment fund, these dollars will go back into the community forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, literally forever and ever. So that's one of the really great things about creating a bequest with the foundation or putting us in your will, is that we would be able to create an endowment for you and make sure that the dollars that you give to us upon passing, or even now, will be something that we can always use in the future, even after, all of us are gone. So that's a really beautiful thing there. The Area Foundation. So we are definitely not a Fidelity. We are definitely not a Vanguard. We are the San Antonio Area Foundation, and we are extremely proud of it just because we have the knowledge and the relationships and the history with the San Antonio community. I think that that's one of the best things, and probably one of the biggest benefits, is that any donor who comes to the San Antonio Area Foundation gets comfort in knowing that the Area Foundation has those existing relationships with our nonprofit communities through departments like Jennifer's, through the different programs that we offer in-house that Lorna will get to a little bit later. So it's just a really wonderful thing to work with the Area Foundation and knowing that we're giving the money back to those issues and causes that we know are vital and that need to be addressed right away. Okay. And then lastly, donors can be anonymous, or they can have their name plastered on the side of the wall, and we will respect and honor whatever wishes our donors would like. We love them either way, but those are just some of the benefits, right, of working with the Area Foundation. So next slide, please. Fund options. I'll try to make this quick. I don't want to be too long on this one, but here are a few different types of funds, and I do want to highlight that we have over 500 funds under management at the San Antonio Area Foundation today. And you know, myself and people prior to me have worked really hard in maintaining and keeping those relationships going as long as, you know, as we can, and making sure that we're stewarding these dollars and these funds for our donors. So the first type is going to be a discretionary fund. A discretionary fund kind of falls under that co-investing bucket that we talked about at the top of the conversation. So this means that any donor that comes to the Area Foundation gives the Area Foundation discretion to make grants in the donor's name, right? And this is to address our community's most pressing needs, either today or in the future when none of us are here. The gift is amplified in a discretionary fund with a whole bunch of other funds. So this is probably like 60 other funds that are all combined to help award millions of dollars back to nonprofits every year. So a lot of this fund is overlooked, but it's probably one of the most important funds that the Area Foundation has, just because we're able to meet the needs of the community now and in the future. So that's a good one. Field of interest is another one. This one actually can kind of fall in independent giving and with co-investing. It just depends on the type of fund that we're opening, and we'll kind of get to that on the next slide. But essentially a field of interest fund is going to be and allow a little bit more flexibility than what some of the other funds offer and how we're granting that money out. So a donor would decide the fund's focus, let's say education, or animal welfare, and then the foundation would be able to provide grants through our annual responsive grants using these funds, right? And then on the other side of the spectrum, we'll kind of get to that a little bit later, which would be the independent giving. Designated funds are going to be funds that support specific agencies. So let's say Jennifer came to us and wanted to open up a fund that supports children and youth. And so we would continue over a period of time, for a short period of time or a long period of time, provide a steady income stream to that organization for as long as the donor intended, right? It's low maintenance, it's easy, but it is making sure that we are honoring the donor's intent there with getting those dollars out the door to that specific organization. Okay. And then donor advised fund. Donor advised funds are a little bit different, similar to designated, but the donor is involved every step of the way. Lorna wants to open up a fund with us today. She's going to make the recommendations every single time that she wants to make a grant. She's going to give us the name of the organization, the amount of money that goes out, and then the timing of the grants every single time she wants to make a grant. The donor is essentially a part of the giving every single time they make a grant, right? So this is a part of that independent giving, definitely not co-investing, but also a very beautiful way for a donor to make an impact in the community, fulfilling their mission and goals. Okay, next slide, please. And then additional funds, I think we have a couple more slides and then I should be done. I'll stop talking. Scholarship funds here. One of my favorite funds is going to be a scholarship fund. And this actually falls in the field of interest bucket, but more on the independent giving, if you will. So great thing about this is that individuals, families, and businesses can all open up scholarship funds, and they can impact a student's life, right? By providing scholarships to students to pursue their educational goals and dreams. Really interesting part about this is that any donor who opens up a scholarship fund will create the selection guidelines and parameters of the fund. And then the Area Foundation will do all of the back-end administrative work, right? Selecting the recipients, doing evaluations, all kinds of fun stuff. But the donor would be a part of knowing that their charitable mission has impacted a student's life. So this is actually one of the biggest funds that the Area Foundation has. I think we administer probably 100 funds, and it's just a really great program here at the foundation, something that we're really known for. Hardship and disaster funding is my baby. I absolutely love hardship and disaster funding. I will say at the moment, right now, we've kind of taken a break from this, although it hurts my heart to say this. We are not opening any funds for this one right now, but we're still administering these employee assistance and disaster relief fund. This just means that an employer will come to the Area Foundation who wants to support their employees financially, especially during some sort of financial hardship, right? If they're experiencing extreme medical situations or, their house burned down, the employer will go and help pay for that employee's kind of getting back up and getting out there, deductibles, things like that, just to make sure that they're not experiencing that hardship on their own and for too long. A way for the employees to bring up their morale, making sure they get back, into the groove of things and know that they're supported by their employer. Okay, and then lastly on this slide is going to be co-investing. So the Area Foundation, if there is a donor who doesn't necessarily want to open up a fund through the Area Foundation, they have options to co-invest, right, through some of our community initiative funds that we have open. So some of the funds, as an example, would be the COVID-19 Relief Fund, the Community Pipe Repair Fund, Recovery for the Arts Program. So different types of funding opportunities that you could go on our website to find. And this is just a way for a donor to make maybe a one-time gift without actually being committed to having a fund at the Area Foundation. Okay, but still making an impact. Next slide, please. And then lastly, for our nonprofits. So we do not forget our nonprofits. We love our nonprofits. We're always here to help our nonprofits. And we have two funds specific to our nonprofit agencies, which is going to be an agency investment fund and an agency endowment fund. These funds essentially are going to be your agency acting as the donor and the beneficiary of the funds. Okay, investment is like a checking account. The agency will give us the money. We'll invest those dollars that maybe they don't have access to because of the buy-in power that the Area Foundation has. So we'll be able to invest those dollars for that agency. And this kind of works as a checking account. The agency can deposit money and then withdraw it as they need it. And this money for the investment fund will stay on their books, right? It's just a way to really build up your portfolio or your dollars, but still have a way to have that steady income coming to you all as well. Next is going to be the agency endowment funds. This one is a little bit more restrictive, more like a savings fund, if you will, or savings account. This does help create sustainability. Again, funds are invested, but whereas the investment account, you can take dollars out, this one would stay on the Area Foundation's book, and you would only be able to be granted a certain amount of dollars every year to help keep the integrity of the original gift, right? So this would be an endowed fund. Your organization would be continuing to get that steady stream of income forever and ever and ever. And then, it's just a great way to ensure that we have a sustainability for that organization and steady income stream. But I think that is all that I have to share today, just a little bit more about how we share or how we support the community. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to, I believe, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. Well, I get the opportunity to talk to you all about how we provide grant processes and some other types of initiatives with some of the support that Jennifer and her team is responsible for. So I'm Jennifer Cook. I'm one of the program officers that works in our community engagement and impact department. And most people are familiar with us in terms of the grant processes that we offer to nonprofits in the community. So I'll start with that. If you're familiar with our grant making, you may know or may have heard that last year we made a significant switch in how we deliver our annual responsive grants to focus on 4 impact areas that you see on the screen in front of you. In 2020, we officially rolled this out, and looking at the 4 impact areas, we are now prioritizing, I should say, grant processes under these 4 headers. So cultural vibrancy, which looks at a vibrant arts and culture scene that increases community connectivity, empowers all San Antonians, and reflects the cultural diversity of San Antonio. Looking towards the bottom of the screen under cultural vibrancy, successful aging grants and grant processes really look at supporting an attractive and livable San Antonio that supports the improved health, well-being, and autonomy of aging adults and values the contributions of all aging adults within the community. So this is really looking at, how we support older adults as they move in age through life. At the opposite end of the spectrum, youth success looks at how we aid the community in a supportive network of programs that supports the improved educational and social emotional success and autonomy of students, while elevating the achievement of all youth within the community. And to kind of wrap it all up, what was newest for us with the launch of these 4 impact areas was the Livable and Resilient Communities impact area. And Livable and Resilient Communities looks at a thriving, connected, and resilient San Antonio where residents can enjoy a safe, stable life of opportunity in every zip code. So equity has become a large part of all of our grant processes, but is especially an important part of the Livable and Resilient Communities grant process. With the shift to these 4 impact areas, we've also shifted in how we are awarding grants. So now through this grant process, we've made the shift to multi-year support. So nonprofits are no longer required to submit an application to us every year to receive funding. And also funding is provided as general operating support. So organizations are trusted to determine where they need the help most in terms of applying grant funds. And we work with them through our relationships to determine what that looks like and how reporting might be in terms of sharing that information out to us. In addition to our general operating grants, we are also offering programmatic grants under these 4 impact areas. And so this is relatively new for us and something that we have started to venture in 2021. And an example of that falls under our youth success impact area, in that we just launched and administered a grant process in partnership with UP Partnership and Blue Meridian Partners to administer a process focused on youth leadership development. And so through initiatives like that, we're hoping to do some more of that as opportunities come available. And so we just ask that you be on the lookout for opportunities as they emerge under the various impact areas. I'll highlight some other grant processes that are kind of ongoing or relevant in terms of recent initiative. First, you see on the screen special and urgent needs. This is particularly special or important because this grant process is not intended to support program needs, but rather those unforeseen, unplanned, and unbudgeted occurrences that happens when you run an organization. So think about facilities management. Maybe a storm comes through, Snowvid, that we all experienced and prefer to put in the back of our minds. And the bad weather, created some damage to facilities, maybe roofing damage or whatnot, that you just didn't anticipate. Our special and urgent needs funds is intended to help occurrences like that. It is an open application, so there is no deadline or timeline for submission, as you would see with grants under our impact areas. And organizations can access the application from our website at any time to submit an application should they need it. We also have grants that are in response to community needs. And so these grant processes open in response to disasters that are declared by either national, state entities, Red Cross, or the Area Foundation ourselves. And as Jennifer mentioned a little earlier, alluding to some of the funds that we offer in co-investments, you'll often see out of our department co-investments that come in and where our team offers the grant processes to fulfill the intent of how those dollars would be used. So as Jennifer mentioned, last year, our department led the COVID recovery grant process. And so over 200 organizations were provided grants through this particular process with over 6 million raised. And again, we did that in partnership with United Way and several other funders and leaders in our community. Again, similar with something that's going on now is the Recovery for the Arts Fund. And this particular fund was brought about and initiated to help support art organizations that are shaping the cultural sector post-COVID. So, and looking at where our community and climate was with the arts sector, what we were hearing from arts organizations and some of the data out there, there was a call to action, for lack of better words, to raise funds and help support organizations in this particular area. What you don't see on this screen or the prior screen is another grant process that's pretty popular and that has been ongoing for several years now, and that's our animal services grants. We don't want to leave our furry friends out. And so with our animal services process, that is an annual and for now continues to be an annual grant process for organizations that are, supporting and helping with the no-kill initiatives, supporting the animal welfare community. For example, providing low-cost shot clinics and services so that we are becoming responsible pet owners and making sure that our furry friends have forever homes. We do more than grants, though, in our community engagement and impact department. And one way that we continue to support nonprofits, aside from monetary support through grants, is with capacity building. And so here, we're really looking at how do we support organizations in sustainability by providing infrastructure support. Our current initiatives are carried out in partnership with other funders. And so 2 examples that I have on the screen here. We are not the greatest at coming up with program names. We focus more on the work. So you'll have to forgive me for the long title, but Early Stage Capacity Building is an initiative that we have in partnership with the H.E. Butt Foundation, where we look at bringing a cohort of small to mid-sized nonprofit leaders together to provide a space for individual and peer learning around different capacity drivers. And so these organizations take an organizational assessment, the ICAT, and they are then they kind of take that information and they reflect on their learning. And so capacity drivers would include things like fundraising, personnel management, learning and growth. And so you can kind of imagine the back end or administrative aspect of running your organization. Similarly, we have Catch a Fire, which is a skills-based volunteer platform that's conducted online, and Social Venture Partners San Antonio, along with several other funders, have come together to support over 100 nonprofits in an annual subscription to Catch a Fire. And through this, nonprofits are able to submit volunteer projects where skilled volunteers that may have expertise in marketing, in finance, in web design, fundraising, strategic planning, you name it. They're all out there. Nonprofits can submit projects for a volunteer to pick up, and Catch a Fire links them together so that these volunteers can then provide that support to nonprofits. And through this project, we have a couple organizations that have been able to benefit in 1 year cost savings of, we have one organization that we're supporting that has a savings of about $40,000 that they would have otherwise have paid out of their budget for this type of work, and another organization that's now close to, I want to say it's between $55,000 and $60,000 of skilled volunteer support. So those are just some of the examples of projects that we're doing in regards to individual organizations. And then finally, kind of a third leg or component of our CEI department is convening and collective impact. And we sit in this space in multiple ways. First, we run our own collective impact and serve as a backbone organization for SALSA, Successful Aging and Living in San Antonio. This is our aging initiative. And this network brings together organizations across sectors who have an interest in advancing the awareness and policy on aging, focused on transportation, housing, and caregiving and socialization, or think about preventing or reducing isolation. So again, we serve as the backbone, which means we are the leader in this and we are the convener, and we pull all of these people in to host these conversations and take action. We also support some other initiatives in the community financially. And so looking at CASA, the Culture and Arts United for San Antonio, and UP Partnership. These are two networks or initiatives that are doing collective impact in their respective impact areas. So as you can see, the arts sector, UP focuses on the youth success and youth development aspect of work. And we serve as, a funder to the work, but also a partner in the work. And also our newest initiative is the San Antonio Equity Fellowship. And this is one of our convening efforts, if you will, where we are bringing together leaders across the city, again, representing the different impact areas that we support, to have, some deep, personal, and much needed conversations around equity. So again, those are some of the initiatives that we have running through our department. It is not everything that we do. So if you're interested in engaging in any of these initiatives or learning more, we ask that you visit our website. We do try to keep as many of our initiatives up on the website for projects that we are providing, or simply reach out to one of our staff to get more information. And with that, I am going to pass it back to Lorna.
Thanks, Jennifer. So you've heard about supporting the community, which is through donor funding. You heard about serving the community, which is through grant making and capacity building. Now we're going to transition into strengthening the community, which falls under my department. I'm one of the learning and development managers at the San Antonio Area Foundation. And in that department, which rests under HR, Jennifer, you can go to the next slide. We strengthen nonprofits through management certifications, training events, membership program, a facilities usage, and our resource library. So I'll briefly go through those one a little bit, because I would love to leave room for your questions that we can tackle. So first of all, let's talk about our nonprofit programs. These are programs that are low-cost programs for nonprofits, because we recognize that, especially in today's climate, many nonprofits don't have budgets for professional development, but professional development is sorely needed. So we try to keep our pricing very low. This training is open not only to nonprofits, but also small businesses. So any of you who are on the call today who have a small business and you don't have a training budget, the Area Foundation is the place for you to go for that. So all of our training and development programs can be found on our website at safton.org under the events calendar, and you can click on any month and see a list of different training programs we have to offer. But here are a few of the highlighted ones. So one is our nonprofit management certificate. This is a 1.5 month cohort. We focus on leadership, strategic planning, internal controls, board principles, fundraising, and much, much more. It is offered twice per year, and I am the contact on that. So if you're interested in finding out more information about that, please feel free to reach out to me. One of our other programs is Supervisory and Management Certificate. This is a 6-week cohort that is taught by university faculty. And this is for frontline managers and supervisors. It is for nonprofits as well as for small businesses, government entities, and educational entities. What I love about this program is that it really does emphasize real world application. And it is offered once per year. Our contact for that is Sandy Paloma Gonzalez. Next up, we have our grant writing certificate, which is open to anyone. It's 1.5 day course, and it teaches you the ins and outs of grant writing, from how to write a grant, the foundational infrastructure of grant writing, all the way through grant management, what to do after you get that grant, how to keep the relationship going with the funder. So this is offered twice per year. And again, I am the contact on that. We also have our fundraising certificate, which is also open to anyone. If you need any type of assistance in how to raise funding for your organization, this is the class for you. It's a 1-day session. It's taught by Bridget Brandt, who is president of the Leander Chamber of Commerce, which is right outside of Austin, and she is phenomenal. She takes you through how to establish your fundraising program, all the way through how to strategically plan for the next year. And what I also love about Bridget is that her wealth of knowledge of fundraising is immense. I mean, she has so many creative ideas. So our participants really get a lot out of this class, and it is offered twice per year. Thanks, Jennifer. I mean, you can go on. Another big one that we have that we're very, very proud of is our partnership with Holt Caterpillar. Holt Values-Based Leadership Fellows is a 9-month cohort. It is taught by Holt Development Services, and this is the same values-based leadership program that is used by the San Antonio Spurs. We are the only community foundation in the area who has this program. It is open to nonprofit CEOs and senior level leaders. However, this year, we have also opened it up to business leaders, small business leaders, as well as governmental entities. So if you're interested in learning more about the Holt Values-Based Leadership Fellowship Program, please give us a call, contact us, either me or Sandy. Sandy is the one who oversees this, but we are more than happy to help you. In this leadership program, you will learn value-based leadership, of course, but you will also get a deep understanding of DISC, which is your personality profile. How do you lead based on your personality? What is your management style? What is your conflict management style based on your personality? And then it gives you tools and tips on how to take your personality style and be able to lead in an effective way. You'll also learn about ethical influence, conflict management, working with boards, and so much more. And then finally, we offer in the training section our professional development, which is open to anyone. These are non-cohort classes, which means you can take these classes at any time. There's no start or stop as you would have with a cohort session. So these are one-off classes that you can take at any time, and they range in subject matter from leadership to fundraising, conflict management, dealing with difficult employees, you name it. We give these sessions to really help nonprofits and small businesses, governmental entities, and educational entities be able to lead effectively and run their organizations effectively. These are offered various times throughout the year, and so you can go to that website, the events calendar on safton.org, and you can see a complete list of those. Next, we have board training. This is another component of the Learning and Development team. If you have a board that you serve on, if you would like to join boards, if you have a board for your business, this is the training for you. This board training helps board members learn the tools, the effective tools of governing. So we have 2 different sessions. We have a board boot camp, which is a 1-day session in which you are immersed in the 7 main principles of board governance. And that's leadership, that's financial responsibility, that's fundraising. What is the board relationship between the board and the organization? How does that work? How do you plan? How do you think strategically? All of those things are covered in the board principles session. And that is offered twice a year. Finally, we have our board day, which is offered every other year. And it is a half-day immersive experience for anyone interested. We usually bring in a national speaker who talks about board governance and how to govern effectively. It's usually a luncheon involved. And so that information will definitely be on our website. When it's time for us to do that, you will see that and have more information about that. The next thing in our department is membership. So not many people know this, but the San Antonio Area Foundation has a membership program. And this membership program is open to nonprofits, small businesses, government entities, and educational entities. What this involves is free training classes that are offered. It involves quarterly membership learning events where we bring in expert speakers to talk about different topics, like cybersecurity for your organization. We just had one on succession planning. We brought in Marvin Hurst from KINS 5 for the session we had last week to talk about how to work with the media. So we do different topics for our members. Also, your name will be listed on our website. And Board Effect is a big one. Board Effect is a governing system that many nonprofits use because it's extremely expensive, but only through our membership program, you can use Board Effect for free. And it is an organization software that allows you to organize everything from your board to your staff with as far as policy and governance is concerned. So it's a really, really good tool to be able to use. Also included with that membership is first dibs on room reservations. Right now, our building is closed to the public, but once we open up again, hopefully in 2022, if you're a member, you will have first dibs on our meeting space. And we have really, really great meeting spaces at the Area Foundation. Membership is based on an organization's annual budget, and we really try to target organizations that have budgets of 5 million or less. Another resource we have is our library. Again, when our building opens, we have a full resource library, the Reggie Williams Library, which was named after one of our CEOs. This library contains over 250 resources on leadership, management, fundraising, grant seeking, anything that you may need to help you run your organization effectively. Next slide, please. The other resource that we have, and let me check my time. The other resource we have is our Foundation Center. This is open to members and non-members. But when you contact the San Antonio Area Foundation, either Sandy or myself, we can send you a link to the Foundation Center. This lets you search for grants internationally. So you can basically go into the Foundation Center tool. You can plug in what type of grant you're looking for, and the amount that you're looking for, and it will show you who's funding in those areas. It'll show you local, it'll show you national, and it'll show you international. So this is a really good tool that a lot of our nonprofits gravitate to for that reason. And with that, I think, let's see, that is the last slide we have, which we have a lot of time for questions and answers. So we will be happy to answer any questions you may have. I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully it's great information that you can take with you and use. We'd love to see you interact with the Area Foundation. So I'll open it up for questions.
Don't be shy, y'all can ask.
You beat me to the punch, Jennifer. This would be a perfect time for you to get your questions out. And if not, feel free to make contact with either the SAGE team and or the Area Foundation, and we can get those questions answered. I did see one that just came up in the chat. Do you only provide assistance to nonprofits in Bexar County or to those in the greater SA metro area, Guadalupe and Comal as well?
We do provide our competitive grant processes to Bexar County and the surrounding counties. So yes, we do make grants to some of our surrounding counties. Thank you, great question. Again, grants are offered kind of under those impact areas, if you will, that was covered during the presentation.
We had another question come through the question and answer, and that's regarding regarding the pricing of classes and memberships.
Yes, thank you, Karen, so much for that question. Our professional development individual classes are $75 a class. I think for 2022, they're going to go up to $80 a class. For our cohort sessions, those range in price. So our 6-week supervisory and management session is $695. And our Hope Values-Based Leadership, which is a 9-month session, is $1,900. However, there is refunding based on completion of those programs. So Sandy can tell you more about that. Also, I saw how much is membership? Karen also wanted to know. Membership is based on your budget. Debbie Vasquez, who is on my team, is the membership coordinator for that. So what you would do is contact her. She would look at your budget and then she can go from there as far as what that sliding scale looks like.
Awesome, thank you. We have, what is the minimum amount required to establish a fund? And then Russell also asked, what is the rate of return on investment?
Sure. So the minimum amount to open up a fund is $25,000. That was something that was just recently enacted a couple years ago. So that's going to be what it is to open a fund. The rate of return on investment does vary. We have a few different pools that you can choose from. We have a managed pool. We have the 60/40 index, which does MIC the S&P 500, and then we also have a legacy portfolio. So ROIs are different across all 3 of those. But if you were interested, what we could do is connect you with our investment manager, Crucial Partners, or we could get you some documentation to kind of read through what the activity has been in this past year, just so you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. And then as far as the fee for managing funds of nonprofit organizations, so you're talking about the agency investment and agency endowment funds, those fees, I believe, are 2%, if I'm not mistaken, of the assets of the funds, but I can definitely get you a concrete answer. And again, we can kind of get you some collateral there to share with you all on what those fees are.
Awesome, thank you. And we have Karen asking if she's able to get, she and the rest of the attendees are able to get copies of the slides.
I saw that, Karen. Thanks for that answer. I would at this time say that would be kind of hard to do because we're always growing and changing and looking. And so by the time we give you the slides, there may be something totally new that wouldn't be on the slide that you would get. But I would say we'll be happy to send you any information that you'd want. If you want to contact us directly, we can definitely get that information out to you.
Awesome, thank you. We had another one pop in. Are your funds automatically tax-free to the recipients because of your nonprofit status?
So I can go ahead and take that in, Jennifer, if you want to kind of piggyback off that one. So absolutely, yes, because of our 501c3 tax status, grants made for whatever purpose it is that it's being made to should be all tax-free, so long as they are used for their intended purpose and so long as we still have our grant tax status. So yes, they should be. But always check with your professional tax advisors. It's always good just to get a double check on that one.
And I see Daryl Darnell has a question. What recommendations do you have for any nonprofit organizations that are just getting established? That is really, really, really good. Good question. Definitely come to the Area Foundation for any of our training programs if you're just getting started. If you're looking at how to start a nonprofit organization, we have a contact that we share with everyone she is phenomenal. Her name is Dorinda Roll. And she taught classes for us previously. And yes, I can. Let me see if I can put it in this chat for you right now. But I would definitely contact her for information on how to start a nonprofit.
And I would also add to that, Lorna, after established, reaching out to myself or individuals in my department, one thing that I did not speak to that we do often is we help connect nonprofits to other nonprofits for partnership, but we may also be able to connect you to other funders to start relationships, especially if it's something that we don't necessarily fund or support. And so we are more than happy to make those connections where we can.
Outstanding. Well, it looks up. Yes, contact information one more time, please. Maybe we could put it in the chat?
Yes, it's there. It's in the chat.
Does anybody have any additional questions? Well, again, we do want to take this time to thank the beautiful team at the San Antonio Area Foundation. We thank you so much for your expertise at our Ask an Expert series today. We will be hosting 2 more sessions in October, so we hope that you would register and join us then. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate. I'll go ahead and put my information in the chat, but please don't hesitate to reach out to the SAGE team. And again, thank y'all for joining us today. I hope everybody has a blessed and wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.